Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to In Conversation with the Royal Butler. And as with all the other conversations, once again, I'm joined by Shumba, one of my royal dachshunds. And I want to do his introduction just now because he kind of gets tired and falls asleep, and he gets quite annoyed if I wake him up without a good reason. So I'll just do this very quick introduction. Shumba, I'm very glad that you're here today to listen to this conversation, and I'm also glad to all of you for coming back to listen to another conversation. And today, I would like to talk about Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge, and his love and relationship with Scotland, because this week, the week that's just passed, Prince William and his wife, the Duchess of Cambridge, have been in Scotland doing different events, carrying out different engagements, and he's also spoke about how important Scotland is to him. And that's what made me think this would be a great subject, a great conversation to talk to all of you from what I know about that love that he has for Scotland. So the week began in Scotland with Prince William attending the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, and that's when the Church of Scotland have commissioners throughout the week look at its work and its laws. So it's quite an important event. And Prince William is the Lord High Commissioner, which is the Queen's representative, and he was appointed to that role last year, but this is the first time he's actually been able to fulfil his duty as the Lord High Commissioner. And that means he'll report back to the Queen and everything that takes place. So that's how the week began. But since then, he's travelled around Scotland to carry out different engagements with the Duchess of Cambridge. And a lot of those have been reported in our media and news as they've attended different things. It's been really good fun to actually see what they've been doing. And of course, they also went back to St Andrews University, which is somewhere that's quite important for both of them, quite a special place for both of them in their hearts. The reason I say it's important, because if you like, the kind of future of the monarchy, I think it's safe to say, is Prince William and his wife, the Duchess of Cambridge. And they both met at St Andrews University. So if you like, the future of the monarchy was actually thanks to St Andrews University, where they were both studying and began dating. Prince William was there in the early 2000s. And in fact, when I began working for him in 2004, or for his father in 2004, I actually met him where he was actually still studying at St Andrews University. So it was a fantastic time to get to know him. And also because of that, with my connection obviously with Scotland, it was quite fun being able to kind of talk to him about that area, because I knew St Andrews quite well, because as a youngster, my family and my grandparents spent a lot of holidays and time in St Andrews. So as a youngster, again, I spent a lot of time there, so I got to know it quite well. And so it was quite fun actually while working for the family, and kind of being able to kind of even give recommendations of places that Prince William could potentially visit. I've got no idea if he kind of took me up, took any of my recommendations to heart and actually did anything, but I did give him a few kind of ideas or pointers of places that I enjoyed going to and visiting. He was very popular at St Andrews and also with the locals. The wonderful thing with that I've kind of witnessed with these kind of towns in Scotland, and I mentioned this last week with Butler, which is next to Balmoral, the communities become very protective of the royals. They kind of see them as very much part of their community, and they do everything to make sure that they're protected from outsiders and from the media, which is fantastic. And it allows the royals to kind of be more at ease, if I can say that. And of course, there was obviously an agreement put in place that while Prince William was studying at St Andrews University, the media respected that and gave him his privacy, which I think was fantastic and really important. It was also to give him as much of a normal upbringing as possible, if that is even possible as a future king. But it did work, from what I understand, and they did give him that space to be able to kind of do what he should be doing, which was studying at university and enjoying life, been able to enjoy life. And there might have been the odd thing that we kind of read about. I suppose the most famous thing would have been the fact that he was potentially dating this young lady, Kate Middleton, which, as we all now know, was true. But that was the beginning of that love, and it's quite nice to think that took place in Scotland. And people have said to me since I've been back up, they remember seeing William and Kate, as they were known back then, kind of popping into the local pubs and doing all the things that the locals did around the town of St Andrews. It's well worth, if you've never been to St Andrews, it's well worth a visit. In fact, my little cottage, which was in At Home with the Royal Butler a few weeks ago, you'd have seen that I live in the little town of Ely, which is only about 10 or 15 minutes from St Andrews. It's a beautiful part of the world. So if you do get an opportunity to visit St Andrews, if I may say, I highly recommend it. Now, of course, Prince William's relationship with Scotland goes further back than his time at St Andrews, because with his family, he would attend different events, receptions, occasions at different properties and venues across Scotland, and most famously would spend a lot of time at the Balmoral Castle and estate with his parents, and of course with the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. I think it's safe to say that the Balmoral estate has always had a very special place in his heart, which is wonderful because it secures the future of Balmoral with the royal family. Obviously, I've already talked about Balmoral on the previous conversation, but I think it gave you an idea of that relationship that the royal family have with Balmoral and Scotland. And equally for Prince William, it's been the place of many, many memories. Now, at the General Assembly, he made a speech and said obviously that some of his best, his happiest and saddest memories are from his time in Scotland. Now, the happiest would be all those wonderful holidays, trips, different occasions that he would attend with his parents in Scotland. And of course, the sad times would be, well, I think the one thing that kind of comes to mind is when his mother, the late Diana, Princess of Wales, died, because he was with his father in Scotland at Balmoral Castle with his grandparents, the Queen and Prince Philip. And like with the rest of the world, when the news broke, we all remember, well, I think we all remember, I remember where I was. I was actually living in Scotland at that point with my parents, and I always remember the news reports. I was up quite late at night, and I remember hearing the news reports of what had happened, and of course eventually the news broke that she had died. And to even begin to think what had been going on in the boys, in their heads at such a young age, it's difficult to even kind of begin to imagine. But I think he took sanctuary, or they possibly both took sanctuary from being at Balmoral Castle, because it's a real place. It's a real, as I've mentioned before, it's a kind of paradise, but it's somewhere you can get away from everything. It's got such a wonderful, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but a kind of veil from the rest of the world. So when you're there, you can escape everything else. Well, that was my kind of views when I was there. That's kind of how I saw it. And I think for them, with their mother passing, I think Prince William said he also took the opportunity to go to the little church, Crathy Church, and that also helped him. So I think in general, that whole experience, that awful experience, for them being in Scotland and away from everything would have made it, I don't know if it would have made it easier, but it would have almost kind of felt they were in a safe place with the grandparents and the father. And also the memories with the mother, again with Scotland, the family spent a lot of time as a family in Scotland, and so with that news, I'm sure they would have reflected a lot on those memories with the mother in Scotland, and in general. So it would have been a great opportunity for them just to kind of just be on their own and just to try to process that awful information. Because I mean, I think obviously when you lose parents, it's terrible for anyone, and obviously you've got to kind of process it. But at such a young age, it's just such a real sad thing, very sad. But as I said, I think thanks to them being in Scotland, it would have given them that opportunity to kind of process it and try to come to terms with it. I also like to think that whenever Prince William does go back to Balmoral on occasions, he'll be able to kind of remember those good times, those good memories, which will be something that possibly both the boys would have done. But I think Prince William very much, when he's up there, will reflect on those wonderful, great memories that his parents had up there, and making new memories with his family, with his wife and his children, and giving them the same kind of love for Scotland. I know the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate, also loved Scotland, so it's great that both of them would have this great relationship. I should mention that Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge actually have a Scottish title. They're the Earl and Countess of Strathearn, which is a region, part of an area in Scotland, not too far from Perth. And so this is a way, again, that with the royal family, they obviously have titles within their names, which gives them that connection with Scotland, which I think is really, really important. And one day, Prince William will potentially be the Duke of Rothesay, which is a title that his father holds, and that's the heir to the Scottish throne. And you've got Lord of the Isles and the Great Steward of Scotland. So there's a few titles that he will, I assume, will eventually take on. The one thing I should quickly mention is these titles go hand in hand also with potentially, if he gets given the Prince of Wales title, this is upon the death of his grandmother and his father becoming king. Now I say potential because a lot of people automatically assume that he will be the next Prince of Wales, but there is no guarantee. It has to be given by the monarch. So as long as his father decides to make him Prince of Wales, and then he'll then have that title plus the other titles that go hand in hand with it. But the Duke of Rothesay title is very much a title that is kind of bestowed upon the heir to the throne of Scotland. So one day that will also be one of their titles. My memories with Prince William in Scotland, it was in those early days. It was always really nice when he would ask me to travel with him. You know, he would say, "Would I mind kind of going up to Scotland?" Or, you know, they were going to, whatever the occasion might be, whether it be a house party, a private visit, and it was always nice to be asked to go up with him, because it was I loved, of course I love Scotland. I'm Scottish, so I loved the opportunity to go home. And it was great fun, because even though I was obviously there to do a job, as I mentioned before, very much what I did for the young princes was something that I kind of volunteered to do. So it wasn't exactly, I was never kind of pushed or forced to do anything. It was very much kind of asked if I would mind. And I loved having the opportunity. You know, I'd very much kind of volunteer. And I remember kind of going up to Scotland, and it was always quite kind of fun, because, you know, when Prince William travelled up to Scotland, he would try to kind of go incognito. And what I mean by that, he would have like a kind of baseball cap and sunglasses, and sometimes people would work out who he was. You'd get people that would suddenly go, "That looks a bit like Prince William," and other people had no idea. That was what was so funny. You know, you'd be with him, and people would just have no idea who it was, and you think, that's amazing. They've been standing next to him, they've got no idea. But it was also nice for him, because he could travel without kind of being hounded. So it was obviously quite important. And there was always kind of, again, if I travelled with them and I was working in Scotland, there was always humour, there was always fun. There was a kind of fun element to it, and it was really very special, really, really special. Kind of be asked to do that, and again with Kate as well. The fact that I kind of got to know Kate at that same point and see her love for Scotland as well was really nice. So I've got many great memories of kind of going up there with them and doing things for them while we were there. I should also mention on one occasion we. I can't remember what it was. I think they had a house party or something, and they very kindly, which was not needed, but at the end of it, they wanted to give me, I think we call it tips or gratuities. They wanted to give something so to say thank you, which was not. I found it unnecessary, but it was such a nice gift. And I remember thinking, what do I buy? Because it was such a great trip. It was a really good visit that we had and great memories. And I remember thinking, what could I do so that I would remember that visit, that trip? And somebody suggested that I should use the money to buy something so that I would always remember that. And I ended up in Devon soon after this trip in Devon, and the money that they personally gave me, I bought this table, a little Victorian table. I think it's Victorian. It could be even earlier, but I believe it's a bit early Victorian. And I always kind of jokingly say to people if they come here and I use this table for teas and things, I always say this is the William and Kate table. And they always say why, and I'll say because they gave me the money that allowed me to actually purchase this. So that's why it's known as the William and Kate table. But I love that table. It's one of my prized possessions, and the story that goes with it is something that I will always treasure. I also noted that the visit that they've just made to Scotland, which was wonderful, and if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend, if you can, have a little look and see if you can find some of these clips, because as I said, it just shows them doing what they love and with Scottish people and how relaxed they are. People have asked me over the years, do I ever think that Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge will ever have their own property? Would they buy something in Scotland? And they had this little cottage, but just for holidays and things, which was great. But there'd be no reason for them to actually buy something, because one day Prince William will inherit the Balmoral estate, and of course there's other properties in Scotland that they visit from time to time, so it wouldn't really make sense for them to suddenly buy a property up there. But at the moment, when they do go up, they either stay at one of the family homes, or if friends invite them up, they've obviously got friends that live in Scotland, and they'll go and stay with them. So it wouldn't really make sense to suddenly go and kind of purchase a property. So I think, and I could be wrong, but I think that what you'll find is that will continue until the day that Prince William becomes king, and then Balmoral estate will become it will be one of his private homes. I've mentioned before that when the royal family in Scotland, they love, on the Balmoral estate, they love the picnics and outdoor activities, and we've all seen these. I mean, there's been footage and things over the years, and I believe Prince William also, well, I know he also enjoys his barbecues, just like his late grandfather. I think, one day he will be kind of, that will be the same situation, king of the barbecue, as well as our monarch. But they're very good hosts, and I can see, again, when they're in Scotland, that this is something that they kind of embrace on the Balmoral estate, is these kind of activities, outdoor activities, including picnics and things. And people again have asked me, have I ever joined them on picnics? And yes, absolutely. I mean, one of the kind of things as a butler, not just for the royal family, but for for anyone, you kind of, if there's picnics, the butlers very much help pack things up and take things out and then kind of lay things out and then leave people to it. You know, you kind of leave people to it. You don't have to kind of be kind of there all the time. You give them that privacy. But with the younger royals, I very much didn't mind going along and giving a hand and getting involved in the picnics. I do remember one funny occasion. I was doing one of these picnics for the Prince of Wales actually, and I remember it was raining and there was midges and it was cold and it was wet and anyway, and I was carrying something, and I remember kind of tripping up and falling in some mess, some cow, if I can say cow mess, and I was not exactly happy, and I was kind of saying, oh, you know, Scotland, rain, wet, you know, this is why I've left, this is why I've gone. And then the next thing, the principal said, oh, you know, are you okay? Is everything okay? And kind of try not to laugh at the state of me. And then it kind of made me laugh. And I then realised, you know what? This is Scotland. This is what I love. This is why I enjoy coming up here. And okay, you know, things like that can happen. But, you know, just having a member of the royal family just kind of smiling and having a giggle about it kind of suddenly makes you think, do you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And the weather cleared up. So it ended up it became a beautiful day. And as I keep saying, these are great memories that I feel very lucky to have actually had the opportunity to do the things that I've done. But as I mentioned, the village of Pittenweem, beautiful little town or village. That's a question. I don't actually know if it's a town or a village. I always get a bit confused, but it's beautiful nonetheless. And it's really good that they've actually gone and visited these little communities, because this is such a highlight for the people in these communities, because especially with everything that's gone with COVID and things, it just gets people excited. It builds up the morale. It gives them a reason to kind of almost throw a party, if I can say that. Still got to be a bit careful with COVID, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It gives them a reason to kind of suddenly get together and see people and actually spend time and get to meet royals. That is where I always felt lucky, because obviously working with William and again knowing him, whenever you kind of saw him with other people and see how excited it made them or how thrilled they were, you always, again, you kind of think it's amazing that I had that opportunity to get to know him in that private environment, you know. And as I said before, of course, there's many other memories and things, but I wouldn't talk about them. And quite simply, not so much because they're confidential, but I do believe that, you know, a lot of kind of what I saw and heard and things that go on, you know, those are things that just remain private, obviously. And I'm not talking about the work side of things at all. I just very much respect them. I respect their privacy. But of course, it is great when I see them doing these visits to Scotland and the kind of things that they're doing, and it makes me proud and want to kind of tell you about some of those memories, about those times when I'd be up there with them. I've been asked if the love affair with Scotland would have come from Prince William's grandparents, would it have come from his father, would it come from his mother? And for those of you that would think, no, it wouldn't be from his mother because she was somebody that enjoyed being in cities and obviously London and things, not so true. Apparently, she loved the countryside as well. She obviously from Althorp, I mean that was in the country, and in Scotland her family, there's family connections that have got estates way up the north of Scotland, up by I don't know if you've heard of Brora and Helmsdale, but way up there, which is almost as far as you can go. And again, with those family connections, both the young princes, William and Harry, would have again had those experiences of travelling that far north and just kind of developing that love for Scotland, but in their own way. Because the one thing about with their parents and grandparents, the way the Queen and her family are, they would never kind of force somebody to like something or do something. You know, it's very much I'm sure they hope and pray that they will enjoy it. And of course they'll be proud and happy that they do enjoy it. And it also, once again, it secures that relationship with the monarchy in Scotland. Of course, historically, the relationship between Scotland and the Crown, England, has not always been one of the smoothest of relationships. And I mean, at one point, after the Battle of Culloden in the 1700s, the wearing of tartan. And I've got to quickly mention, a few of you mentioned in the last conversation when I wore my kilt how much you liked the kilt. Well, you've got to remember that tartan was banned. You know, at one point the king decided that, and this is in the 18th century, but decided that to ban tartan would be the best thing, because otherwise it would encourage another rising, you know, another Jacobite rising. So it was important to, well, for them, they wanted to suppress it. So tartan kind of disappeared. And then it wasn't until the 19th century when it suddenly became fashionable again. And I mean, I think it's safe to say that it was potentially Queen Victoria and Prince Albert who really kind of got people to be proud of being Scottish again. So it's thanks to Prince William's ancestors that, you know, Scotland kind of once again got its identity back, and were able to kind of wear the kilts and things once again. And also Sir Walter Scott, a very famous Scottish poet and writer, also helped with this to get people kind of to be proud to be Scottish again. And that is something that the royal family are proud. As I've mentioned, they have got Scottish heritage historically. They're descended through their bloodline. They're descended to Scottish kings and queens, and they are proud of that. They are very proud of it. And Prince William equally. I mean, you don't often see Prince William wearing a kilt, of course, because I think as a youngster, it's something that even when I was younger, you know, I didn't really wear a kilt that often. But as you mature and you get older, you feel proud of it, and I think that's why we will see Prince William wear a kilt more going forward. And of course, his wife, Duchess of Cambridge, quite often we'll see her wearing tartan, tweeds, those kind of things, because again, it's something that it's fashionable as well, which is great. You know, it's fashionable, so it's fantastic to kind of to see them wearing things like that, and to know that they will. And once again, whenever they attend any kind of Scottish ceilidhs and things, that will be the kind of dress code. So they'll wear the tartan on those occasions. And Prince William has got his own tartan, which is the Balmoral tartan, which the Queen allows her family to wear. And of course, the royals obviously have different variations of the tartan that they wear, and it's wonderful. I think it's really good, because once again, it shows how proud he is of his Scottish connections. It was also nice to see Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge going back to St Andrews University. I believe it said it's almost 20 years since he left. It's not quite. I mean, it's probably about 20 years since he went there. I think it was about 20 years ago this year actually, since he went there, and obviously met Kate. But it was really nice to kind of see them go back, and what great memories. I mean, for them, especially for them, it would bring back those memories of those early days. And I think that's wonderful, you know, that they've got that. Not only have they got that love for Scotland, but their own love for each other began in Scotland. And as I say earlier on, you know, the kind of future of the monarchy, it was thanks to both of them meeting at St Andrews University 20 odd years ago. And here we are today, where obviously they're married, they've got wonderful children, they have secured the future of the British monarchy with the line of succession. And it appears to me that everybody adores them. I think, again, whether you like the royals or you don't like the royals, I think there's an agreement that a lot of people have respect for them, especially for the Queen. I think that's safe to say. And when it comes to Prince William and his wife, I have noticed there's a huge amount of love and respect for them. And equally, that makes me really proud to have known them and to have worked for them, because of the fact that when you hear people kind of say the nice things about them, and you know how much it means to have them, it's quite special. It's really special. I did wonder when they were in Scotland if they would have kind of seen anyone that they remember from when they were up there, you know, at the university. I'm sure they'd have seen ex-teachers and people that they knew from back then. And the wonderful thing about, from my memory with them, is that when they see people that they remember from the past, they always acknowledge them. They always kind of try to say hello, have a conversation, and they're very good like that. They don't kind of ignore somebody if they clock them, if they see them. And I think that's quite special. And it was also nice just to see them smiling all the time. Again, if you see the kind of footage of when they were up there and having such a giggle, and can I say having a laugh, and that was just really nice to see, because I think that's also important for people to kind of realise that even though they're there carrying out these duties, and it is important, but you also get to see that they're having fun at the same time. And I think that's what's important, because if it stops being fun, you do think, what's the point? So I think for them, as I said, even though they're carrying out official duties, it's also important for them to have fun, and for us to see they're having fun. And also the people around them also then feel more relaxed and want to kind of be part of it. I really believe that Prince William's children will also develop a strong love for Scotland, as their father and grandfather and great grandmother all have as well. I think the children will develop a passion and a love for Scotland. And traditionally, the royal family go to Scotland at certain points of the year anyway, as well as the engagements that they carry out. And I think we'll see the younger royals, the royal children, actually attending these different occasions with their parents as they get older, as they mature. And as far as whether we'll ever see them attending St Andrews University or Goddesdon, which is where obviously Prince Charles went, who knows? I mean, that's obviously time will tell. But I do believe that Prince William will be keen to keep that relationship with Scotland, and his children, very much involved in Scotland. I think that is something that he will both Prince William and his wife will be very keen, I think, to make sure is carried on. Of course, people have said, is this part of saving the Union? Prince William and his wife going up there, is that to try to safeguard the future of the United Kingdom? Well, I think it would be wrong of me to say no, it's not, because of course, with a lot of what he said and what they're doing, of course it's very much to kind of show how important Scotland is to the Union. But they wouldn't get involved in the royal family cannot get involved in politics. They don't. As simple as that. So even though it could be seen that they're very much up there kind of promoting this relationship between Scotland and England and the Crown, at the end of the day, it will be from his heart. He will also be saying it because that's what he feels, and he wants to show how important Scotland is to him. And I know, from a personal point of view, I know how important it is, because as I said, I've witnessed that. I've spoke to him obviously about Scotland because of that relationship. I was able to kind of talk to him about Scotland and kind of share memories and things. And I think that's not something it's not show. That is something that he really does care about. As I said, I don't know. I mean, who knows if somebody's kind of said, it's important to speak about that relationship and can put that out there. I don't know. That's something that only Prince William and obviously the Duchess of Cambridge and people close to them would know. But I think it's good timing. Obviously, it is good timing. It's being allowed to now travel, and I think it's important that they're seen to kind of go up to Scotland and show how important Scotland is. And that speech that he made, where he talked about how important Scotland is, as I said, that was something, I think it came from his heart. I think he felt it was important to say that. And I hope that this conversation today is kind of showing that when he said Scotland has been important to him, and obviously during the sad and the good times, that this kind of gives you an idea of why he said that. It gives you a bit of an insight into that love and that relationship that he does have with Scotland. I hope you've enjoyed today's In Conversation with the Royal Butler. And as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for the likes and for the comments. And please keep those ideas coming in. As you all know, I do respond to as many of you as possible. I try to go through them, and the ideas and suggestions you're giving me are fantastic, and I will bear them in mind for future conversations. But until next Friday at 5 p.m, stay safe, and I hope you all have a lovely weekend.